This is the Fox Sports Den. I'm Ava, and along with Cricket, the roadmap to WrestleMania 42 just hit a brick wall in Chicago. Last night, we saw the architect Seth Rollins pull off the ultimate masterstroke, using a student decoy to play Adam Pearce for a fool while he snuck into the chamber to stomp Logan Paul into oblivion. But the biggest shockwave didn't come from a move. It came from a microphone. General Manager Nick Aldis has finally snapped, calling Drew McIntyre a little boy on the post-show and booking a title defense against Cody Rhodes for this Friday night. To break down the fallout and the chaos ahead, I'm handing it over to our deep dive team. Dean, Diana, tell us, is the Scottish Warrior about to burn it all down?
Okay, check your calendars. Because if you are listening to this, it is Saturday, February 28th, 2026.
A very chaotic Saturday.
Yeah, chaotic is the word. We are officially on the other side of the Elimination Chamber. We are coming to you with a massive deep dive into all the fallout from what just went down at the United Center in Chicago.
And I think it's safe to say we are all still recovering.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think most people expected to wake up today with a very clear, very orderly roadmap to WrestleMania 42.
Right, but instead we woke up, we looked at the map, and we realized someone essentially threw it out the window, doused it in gasoline, and set the whole thing on fire.
That is a perfectly accurate description. So for our deep dive today, we have a huge stack of reports to go through. We are specifically leaning on the breakdown from wrestling journalist Cricket Fox.
From the Sox Sorority podcast.
Yeah, and Corner Coffee with Cricket. She was actually in the building last night. So we are going to be unpacking her notes on the match flows, the crowd reactions, the backstage fallout, and specifically this massive curveball involving the WWE Championship that just has the entire internet talking today.
It really feels like this was the true final stop on the road to WrestleMania, doesn't it?
It really does.
Because usually, these February shows are just bridges. They just get us to the big one. They confirm the matches we already guessed were happening months ago. But last night felt incredibly consequential.
Consequential is putting it lightly. I mean, we had massive returns. We had bodies literally crashing through plexiglass. And we had a main event finish that I think legitimately shocked about 19,000 people in that arena.
It definitely shocked me.
But before we even get to the matches themselves, we have to talk about the physical structure of the chamber. Because if you were watching, or even if you just caught a screenshot on your feed, you noticed something was different immediately.
Right. The visual language of the entire show was shifted.
Yeah.
If you have been watching the chamber for the last few years, really since about 2018, you are used to that circular design.
Death.
Exactly. Smooth curves, those pods that look almost like futuristic glass tubes. It's a very sleek look.
Right, but last night, that sleekness was completely gone. They brought back the square.
They brought back the 2017 design.
Which is wild.
It is. Now, for the casual viewer at home, it probably just looks cooler, maybe a bit more industrial, which honestly fits a Chicago aesthetic perfectly. But for the wrestlers actually inside that thing, the square is a total nightmare compared to the circle.
Why is that exactly? Is it just a space issue?
It's the physics of the impact. In the circular chamber, if you get thrown into the chains or the outer walls, the curve naturally absorbs some of that kinetic energy. You kind of slide along the wall.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I mean, it is still steel, so it hurts, but it gives a little bit. In the square design, you are hitting a flat, highly tensioned surface. It stops you completely dead. It is a much, much harder collision.
Wow.
Plus, the floor grating outside the ring is physically wider in the square version.
So there is literally just more unforgiving steel to land on when you get thrown out of the ring.
Exactly.
So practically speaking, why did they make the switch? Was it just for the visual impact, or was there a reason?
Well, according to the production notes Cricket Fox got a hold of, it is actually strictly logistical. The square design is just a lot easier to hang in different types of arenas.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, the circular one requires a very specific rigging setup in the ceiling that not every single stadium can handle easily.
Right. But honestly, standing there in the United Center, it just gave the whole night this sharper, almost meaner vibe.
It looked so dangerous.
It really did. And they wasted absolutely no time using every single inch of that steel. They opened the show with the Women's Elimination Chamber match, which I have to say I think was the only correct choice.
Oh, 100%. You want to wake up a Chicago crowd. You give them their absolute favorites immediately. You don't put a slow technical clinic out there first. You put a demolition derby first.
And look at the stakes here. The winner earns the title shot against Jade Cargill at WrestleMania 42, and the lineup was stacked. You had Rhea Ripley, who is basically treated like a deity in that building.
Unbelievable reactions for her.
You had Tiffany Stratton looking for her big moment, Alexa Bliss with her whole supernatural edge, Asuka, Kiana James, and Raquel Rodriguez.
Now, strategy-wise, you know the chamber is usually all about pacing yourself. You want to stay in your pod, let everyone else beat each other up, and pick your spots. But Cricket Fox's report specifically notes that the quote-unquote mist factor changed the psychology of this match instantly.
It's always the X factor when Asuka's involved.
Right, because in a normal match, if she hits you with the green mist, maybe the ref calls for a disqualification, or you just roll under the bottom rope to the floor to recover and wash your eyes out.
You have an escape route.
Exactly. But in the chamber, you are locked in. There's nowhere to go. And she blinded Alexa Bliss with that miss very early on in the match.
Which is such a terrifying visual when you think about it. You were completely blinded inside a steel cage, just stumbling around while 4 other women are actively trying to take your head off.
And Kiana James, who I thought really impressed everyone as a tactical thinker last night, she capitalized on that instantly.
She really did.
She saw Alexa couldn't defend herself, hit a really quick roll-up, and eliminated a former winner just like that. I think it highlighted the brutal efficiency of this match type. You make one single mistake, or you suffer one bad break, and your night is over.
And Kiana James really deserves a shout-out here. This was her very first chamber match, and she did not look out of place for a second.
Not at all. She played that opportunist strategist role perfectly, well, at least until the powerhouse entered the chat.
Right, Raquel Rodriguez.
Exactly. When Raquel entered last, the entire dynamic shifted from strategy to pure survival. And this is where we got the spot of the night. Honestly, maybe the spot of the year so far.
I know exactly what you're going to say, the pod smash.
The pod smash? I mean, we have seen a lot of bodies go through the quote-unquote unbreakable plexiglass in wrestling history, but usually it is a throw or maybe a hard shove into the wall.
Yeah.
This was completely different. This was Raquel Rodriguez, the absolute powerhouse of the division, putting Kiana James on her shoulder and running a full sprint right into the pod wall.
Cricket Fox's report specifically mentions that the sound inside the arena for that impact was just deafening. It wasn't just the plexiglass breaking. It was the really heavy thud of the impact against the actual steel frame. It looked absolutely brutal.
And you have to give credit to the ring psychology here. Yeah. Raquel didn't just stop to pose and admire her work.
Right, which happens all the time.
Exactly. Usually in these multi-person matches, a massive move is followed by a full minute of everyone just laying around selling the pain. But Raquel used the wreckage. She immediately grabbed Asuka, hit a Tijana bomb, which is that massive sit-out power bomb she does, right onto Kiana James's unconscious body.
Pinning both of them at the exact same time.
A double elimination. It was efficient, it was scary, and in terms of storytelling, it establishes Raquel as an absolute monster heading into the spring.
Yeah, it really cleared the deck for the real finale we were all waiting for. Rhea Ripley versus Tiffany Stratton.
This whole sequence felt like a glimpse into the next 5 years of the company. The current mommy versus the center of the universe.
It really was. And Rhea had to pull out something we almost never see from her. To finally put Tiffany away, she actually climbed to the top of the pod.
Which is crazy because Rhea is a very strong ground-based striker. Seeing her launch a full cannonball senton from 10 feet in the air, that is major high-risk, high-reward territory.
And it paid off beautifully. She shoved Tiffany into that unforgiving square corner we talked about earlier, hit the riptide, and stamped her ticket to WrestleMania.
But the story of that match did not end with the pinfall, because the camera cut almost immediately to a luxury suite high above the ring.
Jade Cargill.
Wearing the gold, looking down like an emperor in the Colosseum, and they didn't even need to say a single word on commentary. You just have Rhea Ripley, this gritty, battle-worn survivor down in the cage, looking way up at the pristine, untouchable champion in the skybox.
It's the powerhouse clash that you and I, and really all the fans, have been fantasy booking for 2 solid years.
It is going to be a massive collision.
It really is. But, while the opener was all about brute force and survival, the mid-card shifted gears to pure emotion. We had a massive homecoming with the Women's Intercontinental title match.
AJ Lee back in Chicago. You really cannot overstate how much the city absolutely loves her. The pop when she skipped down the ramp was nostalgic, it was massive, it shook the cameras. And on the flip side of that, you have Becky Lynch, who has really leaned into this desperate, do-anything-to-win heel persona lately.
I found the dynamic of this match really interesting, because usually the champion is the one trying to maintain order and keep the match traditional. But here, Becky Lynch, the champion, was fighting like a desperate cornered animal from the bell. The report mentioned she actually took out the referee, Jessica Carr.
She did, and remember, there is a lot of history there. Becky has felt for months that Jessica has screwed her over in previous matches, so Becky takes out the official deliberately, thinking, okay, now I can break whatever rules I want to retain my title.
But the problem is, if you do that in Chicago, you just turned a wrestling match into a street fight.
Which favors AJ Lee completely.
Yeah.
And the storytelling here was just incredible poetic justice. Becky exposed a steel turnbuckle. She tore the padding right off the hook. She wanted to slam AJ into it to secure the win. But after a wild scramble, AJ reversed it, sent Becky face first into the very steel she just exposed, and locked in the Black Widow submission.
The crowd must have just melted down.
It was the loudest pop of the entire night until the main event. AJ Lee winning gold in her hometown. It is just one of those pure feel-good moments that wrestling does so well when everything aligns perfectly.
Speaking of Chicago favorites, we also had the men's world title match right after that, CM Punk defending against Finn Balor. Now, usually Punk wrestling in Chicago is just absolute unhinged chaos, but the source material describes this particular match as steady. Is steady just polite code for boring?
I wouldn't go as far as boring. I would say it was clinical. It was a bridge to get us to the next part of the story. Punk had a busted lip early on. Finn was working the midsection meticulously to stop Punk from hitting the go-to-sleep. It was a very solid, very technical bout.
But the real story was the atmosphere around the ring. Right?
Exactly. The context. You had Judgment Day members, Dirty Dom and JD, just lurking in the building all night. Everyone in that arena was just waiting for the interference to happen.
But they didn't actually get involved in the finish?
Not directly in the outcome, no. Punk ended up retaining clean. And it ended with this really nice show of respect between Punk and Finn. And then AJ Lee actually joined Punk in the ring to celebrate.
A double feel-good moment for Chicago.
Right, a total calm before the storm.
Because right after that, well, WWE tried to do one of those cool-down segments. And we have to address it because it really explains the weird atmosphere going into the main event. The mystery crate.
Oh boy, the mystery crate.
They love doing these, right?
Yeah.
Put something silly or lighthearted on the stage right before the main event to give the crew time to reset the cage and the rigging. So Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis come out to reveal what is inside this giant box.
And it was Danhausen.
The internet sensation. Very funny guy, very strange character.
And in the wrong room at the exact wrong time. It completely bombed. Cricket Fox's report literally says it, quote, sucked the air out of the building, end quote.
It is always such a huge risk with comedy characters in high-stakes environments. You go from a life-or-death cage match to a gritty street fight, and then suddenly it's a silly man in a box. The audience just gets total whiplash.
It was a huge swing and a miss. But looking at the logistics of it, it did give the crew the time they needed to lower the cage for the men's elimination chamber. And this is where the night went from a good show to a collective, wait, what just happened?
The narrative going into this match was veterans versus the new generation. You had the fresh blood like Trick Williams and Javon Evans, and then you had the stalwarts like Randy Orton and LA Knight.
Let's actually talk about the rookies first. Javon Evans is 21 years old. I actually checked the dates on this. He was literally born after the very first Elimination Chamber match took place.
That is just mind-blowing context.
It makes you feel old, doesn't it?
It really does. And Trick Williams entering at number 1. The whoop that trick chants were apparently deafening in there. It sets such a specific electric tone when the crowd is that heavily invested in the very first guy walking out.
But every fairy tale needs a villain, and last night that villain was Logan Paul.
You know, say what you want about him outside the ring, but inside the ring, he understands how to make an arena full of people hate him better than almost anyone currently working.
He was the ultimate spoiler in this match. First, he eliminates the Wunderkind, Javon Evans, right after Evans had this truly spectacular offensive showing that deflates the crowd immediately.
Yeah.
Then, just when LA Knight, who is arguably the most popular guy in the entire match, looks like he is rolling and building momentum, Logan hits a blatant low blow.
Just a completely cheap shot.
The cheapest. Folds Knight like a lawn chair and eliminates him. So now, Logan has single-handedly taken out the two biggest fan favorites. The heat on him at this point is just nuclear.
And he wasn't even done. This is where the match gets incredibly chaotic. Cody Rhodes hits a crossroads on a masked man. We will get to the masked man in a second. And Logan literally swoops in and steals the pin.
It is that classic scavenger tactic. He shoved an exhausted Cody aside, covered the guy, and claimed the elimination for himself. It is just perfect, detestable character work.
Okay, we have to talk about the masked man situation, because this was wild. A masked guy scales the outside of the cage, security grabs it and pulls him down. But it was a decoy.
That is exactly what they wanted you to think. It was a decoy named Don Furio. Classic sleight of hand misdirection. Because while all the security guards are distracted dealing with him on the floor, a second masked man is already inside the ring.
And he just starts stomping Logan Paul.
He stomps Logan into the mat, unmasks, and the place just explodes. It is Seth freaking Rollins.
This is back.
The Visionary is back. And he is not even in the match, but he is there specifically to neutralize Logan Paul. He completely lays him out, leaves him in a heap, which allows Cody Rhodes to hit the crossroads. And finally, Logan is eliminated.
So the board is completely clear. The villain is gone. It is down to the final two men, Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. And I think 99% of the people watching thought, okay, here we go. Cody wins. He punches his ticket, and he finally finishes the story against Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania.
It felt like the inevitable conclusion, the feel-good, happy ending. But this is exactly why we watch, because just when Cody seemed to have the match won, we get interference again.
Drew McIntyre.
Who, by the way, was explicitly banned from the building by Triple H earlier in the day.
How does he even get into the cage?
At this point, I just assume Drew breaks down heavy steel doors with his forehead. He storms the cage, absolutely destroys Cody Rhodes, and just leaves him laying in the middle of the ring.
And Randy Orton.
Randy does exactly what Randy does. He didn't ask for the help, but he is certainly not going to turn it down. Randy is a snake. He sees a broken Cody Rhodes. He slithers over, hits the RKO out of nowhere. 1, 2, 3.
Randy Orton wins the Elimination Chamber.
Complete silence in the arena, followed by just total shock. Randy Orton is going to the main event of WrestleMania, and Cody Rhodes is left staring at the lights.
This is such a massive subversion of expectations. I mean, we all thought the path was so clear. Cody versus Drew at Mania. Now Randy has the golden ticket. So what happens next? Because this is where the fallout gets really interesting and honestly a little confusing for the traditional timeline.
This is the real so what of this whole deep dive. Usually you end a premium live event with a very clear, crystallized picture. Here, the picture got shattered into a million pieces. Nick Aldis, the SmackDown general manager, was described in the backstage reports as completely livid on the post-show.
Well, I bet. His huge main event match just got ruined by a guy from the other brand who wasn't even supposed to be in the time zone.
Exactly. So Aldis makes a ruling that I think is going to be debated by fans for a long time. He isn't waiting for WrestleMania to settle this. He isn't fining or suspending Drew. He decided to punish Drew McIntyre by putting his world title on the line immediately.
Immediately.
Next Friday, on SmackDown. It is officially going to be Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre for the undisputed WWE Championship.
That is, wow. Okay, let's really unpack that. That is a WrestleMania caliber main event happening on free television just 6 days after the Chamber.
It is a massive gamble, and frankly, it is a brilliant piece of what some people are calling panic booking.
Explain that term. Why are people calling it panic booking?
Well, look at the internal logic. Storyline-wise, it is a punishment. Aldis is basically saying, you want to play games on my show? Fine. You are going to defend your life's work against a desperate man on short notice. But business-wise, they are giving away a WrestleMania main event on a standard weekly broadcast.
It completely upends the entire timeline. Because if Cody wins on Friday, does he take the belt to Mania? Does he face Randy?
Right. If Cody wins, suddenly it is Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania 42. Which is a mentor versus student storyline that completely writes itself. But if Drew wins, if Drew somehow retains, then Cody is out. He is done. He has absolutely no path to the title at Mania.
It raises the stakes for a weekly TV show to a level we really haven't seen in years. Usually the road to WrestleMania is this long, slow, methodical build. This feels like they just hit the nitrous oxide button.
It forces you to tune in. You simply cannot miss SmackDown this week. And that is the ultimate goal in this modern era of wrestling television. Engagement, immediate gratification. They aren't making you wait 6 long weeks for revenge. They are giving it to you in 6 days.
It is so risky, though, isn't it? Giving away the big match on free TV.
It is risky, but maybe immediate gratification is the new style of long-term booking. They are banking heavily on the fact that seeing Drew potentially pay for his arrogance right now is way more satisfying for the viewer than making us wait until April.
So just to recap where we stand coming out of Chicago, we have Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill locked in for the women's title. That is a done deal.
A total powerhouse spectacle. That one is safe.
We have Seth Rollins back and clearly gunning for Logan Paul, which is a feud I didn't even know I needed until right this second.
It is going to be incredibly entertaining. Seth's completely chaotic energy matched up against Logan's athletic arrogance. Sign me up for that immediately.
We have Randy Orton holding a golden ticket to the main event of WrestleMania 42, just waiting to see who his opponent will be.
The Viper is literally lurking in the tall grass, just waiting to see who survives Friday night.
And the biggest question mark of all is the undisputed WWE Championship. It is not safe until Mania. It is on the line this Friday night.
The Scottish Warrior openly defied the bosses, and now he has to fight for his life against the American Nightmare.
It is absolute chaos, and I love every second of it.
It is professional wrestling at its absolute best. Just when you think you know the exact destination, they completely change the map.
So here is something for you to think about before you tune in on Friday. Is this brilliant management by Nick Aldis giving Cody a fair shot immediately after he was screwed over? Or is this a panic move that burns through the company's biggest match way too quickly?
That is the million-dollar question. Is it justice or is it impatience? I guess we will all find out when the Friday ratings come in.
Whatever it is, I know exactly where I will be on Friday night. The road to WrestleMania 42 just took a massive detour, and we are all just holding on for the ride. Thanks for diving in with us today.
Watch your back, Drew.
We will catch you next time.
And that is the word from the team. It's a dangerous game being played right now, and as our strategist points out, Drew McIntyre might be walking straight into a trap this Friday. Will the little boy comment on him, or will Cody Rhodes be the one left picking up the pieces? We'll find out when the bell rings on SmackDown. Make sure you're following the Fox Den Sports for the post-show reaction. For now, I'm Ava, along with Cricket. Thanks for hanging out in the den. We'll see you ringside.